This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 656. Hi, I am Mike Matthews, and I am broadcasting to you from the last place on Earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today, we will hear from Madame Rutabaga, Valentino, Bison Bentley, plus the return of the much-loved feature, the Mikelopedia in Seneca, where we hear some fascinating health news and tips. And
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Some news about autism that will make you go, wow, what's going on with this land?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
In which I live. And I wanted to say yesterday's show featured some things that made you go, whoa, whoa, that's impossible. I mean, how can root beer eat through the floor of the last place on Earth? That's an excellent question. I like women of wide girth. It just ate through the floor. I don't know what to tell you. The brewmaster,
Mike's Daily Podcast,
can't make root beer right. It's out of sight. I think he would be banned and put on a flight
Mike's
out of the country
Daily
because of his bad
Podcast.
root beer making style.
Yeah!
But that's only an opinion that I hold. Another opinion that I hold is that Wyclef Jean, all of his big songs, why does he have to use other people's stuff? I don't get it. Why all of his stuff is someone else's stuff? Even Hips Don't Lie, right? He's on that Shakira song. And that trumpet section that you hear at the beginning of the da 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 da, that's from Amores Como El Nuestro, which was written by Omar Alfano and performed by Jerry Rivera for his album Cuenta Conmigo. He took someone else's stuff. And then what's the other big songs? With the Fugees, right? There was the Killing Me Softly with his song, Lauryn Hill singing that. And then he also did No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley's song. Roberta Flack, Bob Marley, Jerry Rivera, taking other people's stuff. But you know what? I guess it's sort of an homage to that music just as much, isn't it? But what does that say about our culture? That we don't like music that's original? We got to hear something that reminds us of something else in order to enjoy it? Of course, I'm bringing up music that's very old at this point. Hips Don't Lie, that came out like 8 years ago. In the meantime, in 2010, he filed for candidacy in the 2010 Haitian presidential election. Although the Electoral Commission subsequently ruled him ineligible to stand, as he had not met the requirement to have been resident in Haiti for 5 years, according to Wikipedia, so you know that it's true. Another interesting thing, Wyclef Jean doesn't have a T in his name, so it's not Wyclef Jean, Mike. Sorry. He also does not have a cleft chin, which I guess is fitting, but then neither do I. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that I live in an area here in Podcastro Valley, California, where there are 3 huge cities, 3 of the biggest cities in the country: San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, a.k.a. Silicon Valley, are all right next to each other. Yet, do we say the annoying phrase, the Tri-City area? No. I hate places where they say, make sure to come down to the Tri-City area for the Tri-City Fair at the Tri-City Olympic. Tri-City. I hate Tri-City. Most people use Tri-City. They use that phrase when they're trying to make their area sound bigger than it really is. You know, we've got 3 cities where we live. That's what they're trying to boast about it. There's 3 cities here. Well, you know what? We've got 3 cities. Actually have 3 big cities here, and we don't ever say Tri-City. We just say Tri-Valley. Come on down to the Tri-Valley area, Tri-Valley Fair, Tri-Valley. And that includes Pleasanton, where I work, so I'll only say nice things about it. No, it is a nice town. Livermore, Dublin, San Ramon, and Danville, which I've spoken about Danville. Danville's a wonderful area, wonderful place. Except for when you're walking your dog and nobody acknowledges your existence when you're walking. If you're on a walking path, nobody even looks at you because they have lived, most people in Danville have lived in San Francisco and are, believe it or not, hardened. Yes, San Francisco will harden you. It's a busy, busy place. It's crazy. no direct eye contact, like most cities. And Danville is kind of almost like in the countryside. It's right next to this beautiful mountain range. Eugene O'Neill lived there. It's nice, and people just don't acknowledge you. No eye contact. It should be called No Eye Contactville instead of Danville. There is eye candy, though. A lot of beautiful women in Danville, oddly enough.
In the Tri-Valley area.
Oh, look who just walked in. Hello, Michael Matthews. This is Madame Bego, and I hate it when you talk in that pukey radio voice.
Well, when I say Tri-County area,
Yes, please stop that.
Tri-City area.
I guess Tri-County. That's where I lived in Ventura County. We used to say Tri-County a lot, which meant Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, and San Luis Obispo County, which takes up a lot of miles, by the way. Driving from one end of those counties to the other end, you're basically going from Los Angeles to Paso Robles. That's a far way if you don't know California, just letting you know. Whatever, Michael Matthews, just don't talk in that pukey radio DJ voice. Ooh! Alright, I'll try. Look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we really like that pukey radio voice that you do there.
Really? Why?
Because it reminds us of the wonderful Regis Philbin day.
Yes, Regis Philbin. He's allowed to talk like his out of control voice. Thank you, Dana Carvey, for making us realize that Regis Philbin says out of control. Mike, I'm out of control right now, too, because I don't like you picking on my white cleft, John. Do you know that? He doesn't have a cleft. Treble cleft? He might have a treble. He is a musician. He is accomplished musician. But he just likes to take other people's stuff. He starts from other people's stuff and builds on it. Why are we talking about a guy who hasn't had a hit on the charts in like 50 years? I'll tell you why, because we're going to go back 50 years right now in the time machine of the last place on Earth. We're pulling down the root beer handle dispenser thing that takes us back in time, and here we go. 50 years ago, 1964. Yes, we did a bottom of the charts feature about this year. We played some music, a lot of great songs from 1964. Do You Love Me by the Contours.
I love that song there.
And of course, Wyclef Jean was very popular in 1964. Hey, Mike, I beg to differ. He didn't have hits until like the 90s. Do you know that? With the Fugees, right, 1964. Michael Master, I think you have your times mixed up here. No, let's go to this jukebox here in 1964. And look, there are the Fugees right here on this. What's happening to time and space? All the years of music have melded onto and top of each other. Yikes.
Mike, there's Justin Bieber and Elvis Presley going on a drive. That's not going to end well, D.
This has to stop. We need a correct time right now. Pull the root beer handle dispenser thingy again, Bison Bentley. Don't tell me what to do. Do you know that? All right, I'll do it. There we go. We're going back. Everything's going back to normal, yay. And since today's show has to do with health, because we've talked a lot about health so far on today's show, this blew my mind. The number of U.S. children with autism has surged to 1 in 68. Yes, 1 in 68. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported this today. A 30% increase. Yes, 30%. Since the agency estimated just 2 years ago that 1 child in 88 suffered from the disorder. So that's 1 in 88 to 1 in 68. The new estimate also showed a marked increase in the number of children with higher IQs who fall somewhere on the autism spectrum, and a wide range of results depending on where a child lives. Only 1 child in 175 was diagnosed with autism in Alabama, while 1 in 45 was found to have the disorder in New Jersey. Yeah, what? What does that mean? Should we blame Chris Christie for that?
Mike, leave Chris Christie out of this. He's the greatest man. He's going to be president day.
Yeah, the greatest man alive. There are lower rates of autism in New Jersey because of him. Do you know that? Well, I don't know that for sure, but it could be that doctors are getting better at identifying these children. There could be a growing number of children with high intelligence who are autistic, or it could be both, said the director of the CDC's National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental developmental disabilities. As in previous reports, the diagnosis is more common in boys versus girls. It's like 1 in 42 for boys, 1 in 189 for girls, and it's more frequently found in whites rather than blacks or Hispanics. The racial disparity is most likely due to better reporting of the disorder in whites, according to the CDC. Children with the most extreme form of autism are withdrawn, speak little, avoid eye contact, and engage in repetitive actions. Milder forms, such as Asperger's syndrome, are now considered to fall along the autism spectrum. In the past, children with Asperger's, for example, might have been considered peculiar and abnormal, but not suffering from a disorder. By the way, autism treatment requires time and patience. Medical expenses for children with autism are 6 times as high as those for children without the disorder. Behavioral therapy, often delivered one-on-one, can cost as much as $60,000 per year. Do you think this is true? Are we really seeing this big, a 30% increase in the amount of autism in children? Or do you think these are just numbers that are they're just not? I mean, 175 diagnosed with autism in Alabama, 45 in New Jersey. Do you think these are really accurate? Email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. We read your comments on the section emails from email. Also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you'd like to sponsor the show, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. Also at mikesdailypodcast.com is the links to where to find us on iTunes, where you can subscribe to this show there. Also, my Facebook page for Mike's Daily Podcast is there. The link there is there. And I'm done saying the word there.
Mike, are you sure you're not going to say the word they?
No, I'm not going to say it. But you can find it in that area at mikesdailypodcast.com. Like the Facebook page, and when I post a new show, share it with your friends. More people will find out about us. Also, links can be found at mikesdailypodcast.com to where to find us on Twitter, Tumblr, Yelp, Mixcloud, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can also find the Amazon deal of the day. Click on that and purchase something, and that helps us out too. There's great discounts there. Oops. You can also find the blog and the daily podcast picture at mikesdailypodcast.com.
The Myclopedia Insanika.
It's time to look at this fascinating book right here. Pages and pages of fascinating stuff that have to do with the topic today in the Myclopedia Insanika, health. These are things that will help you health-wise. And let us start off with this little article, care of health.com, that has to do with exposing some myths.
What if I were Romeo in black jeans? What if I was Heath Ledger's? No myth.
No myth. Michael Penn. We're secretly brothers. Did you know that? Well, that would actually make me Sean Penn. Never mind. So here are some diet myths that should be smashed. Forget everything you think you know about losing weight, says Yanni Freedhoff, MD, author of The Diet Fix. Women often feel that restriction is a necessity and that they don't deserve a normal relationship with food, he says. But there's no need to punish yourself. Here's how to reset your thinking. The old think. The last 10 pounds are the hardest. How many times have we heard that? New attitude. The last 10 pounds are the slowest. True. As you lose weight, your metabolism adapts, Dr. Freedhoff says. But don't get frustrated. Just keep going. The old think. I can't eat carbs, fried food, or dessert. Wah. The new attitude. No food is off limits. Deprivation just leads to binging. Instead of banning foods from your diet, give yourself permission to have a treat sometimes. And the old way of thinking, I'm hungry, but I should wait until dinner. The new attitude, I can eat whenever I want. You end up making bad choices when you're starving, so, oh gosh, that statement is so true. When I was married and my ex-wife would get hungry, we would eat, it would just be like, stop everything, I'm hungry. Instead of realizing you're going to be hungry at this particular time, you know, that's much better. You can plan for it. You can have snacks and stuff. But when you're like just going and going, and then all of a sudden going, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Do something. Feed me now. I'm hungry. It's like the hypoglycemic thing that goes on. So what Friedhoff says, it's best to have a snack tide you over when you get hungry. Don't feel the least bit guilty about doing that.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius.
Age of Aquarius. Aging. That's a bad segue, sorry. But hey, I was able to play the Fifth Dimension, so that wasn't all for naught. So this is some anti-aging tricks that you maybe didn't know about. And this is actually not through any expert. Oh, we'll take care of the expert's anti-aging trick first. Let's go with Carrie Gans. She is an RD and author of The Small Change Diet. This according to also health.com. Carrie says the vitamin C in blueberry supports collagen production to keep your skin firm. And then Kimberly Snyder, CN, and author of the Beauty Detox Foods, says the lipoic acid in spinach encourages the activation of vitamin C and E, which are youth enhancing. Well, health.com has this thing called crowdsourced, which actually at crowdsourced on Twitter and Facebook, and people like to chime in with their anti-aging tricks, and some of these are pretty interesting. One is, this is from Elizabeth R. via Facebook. I use a homemade scrub made with baking soda and water every week or two. People always think I'm about 6 years younger than I really am. Cheap and chemical free. This person at OMGal says, I love my work. I'm in my 30s, but have friends in their 50s and 60s. The common denominator for being vibrant is loving what you do all day. Christina F. via Facebook says, make sure to exercise your face just as you would the rest of your body. I say my A-I-O-U's and stretch my face with every letter. It totally stops turkey neck as well. Here, Fast Pitch Mom 55 says, I do HIIT and CrossFit. Intense exercise definitely keeps me young. And then this person says, at Katie 5280 says, sunscreen with an SPF of at least 45. Also try to find sunscreen with zinc in it. It keeps my skin like porcelain. Gabriella G via Facebook says, not smoking. Her anti-aging tip is not smoking. I never smoked, and my skin is so grateful for it now. And finally, this person, I think this is interesting. This person on Twitter at Cat Saddles. Cat Saddles? Okay. Oh, Cat Saddless. I don't know. She says, try to keep on a little extra weight. Being too thin ages your face. Which is true, as I am a big fan of the television show, which is now defunct, called Good Eats, with Alton Brown. Alton looked pretty good when he was a little bit heavier, but then he lost all this weight. He went on this complete extreme weight loss program because I guess he wanted to get that Iron Chef gig and then all those other TV shows he hosts now on Food Network. He basically owns Food Network now. And he lost a bunch of weight, and he aged real bad. He was also already aging, but dang, when he lost weight, he looked more like a skeleton. And sometimes it's good to have a little bit of meat. Okay, on to the next one. Dave Matthews, ants marching. Now a little health news about ants. Yes, ants. We got lots of them here in California. California's most common household pest problem, as a matter of fact, and the one that Alameda County residents, where Podcastro Valley is in, Alameda County residents are most likely to attack ants with pesticide sprays. That's right, that's me. Forget that crazy, weird Chinatown chalk, which is supposed to be highly toxic, possibly even radioactive. But okay, here, I'll give you my solution. Yeah, use the toxic stuff, but use it very sparingly. Like hit the one spot that they're coming through, and then when that's done, you've created a what do you call it? A thumb in the dike. As I look to my Holland children's stories to tell you about. Yes, that's a Holland. The Netherlands, right? That's Holland and their story about the kid with the putting his finger in the wall that sprung water. Anyway, there is a less toxic way to deal with those industrious little ants, according to a coalition of environmentally conscious groups who have launched the Got Ants project. Even average uses of sprays can be toxic to children and pets and can severely pollute creeks and streams. Switching to less toxic strategies is one of the most effective ways to protect the environment. It also makes ants less likely to reinvade. The basics for effectively managing home ant invasions include finding out where the ants are coming in. I agree with that. And obstructing these entryways. I agree with that. With the toxic spray, right? It says here, eliminating crumbs, messes, and spills. I agree with that. Washing away the ant trail with soap and water. I don't agree with that. That doesn't always work. Isolating food and water sources. That's true. They go for the water. That's especially when I was living in Southern California. The ants went for water wherever they could. And using baits if ants don't go away after taking precautions. That doesn't work, in my opinion. Less toxic products are available over the counter, or they can be applied by a certified integrated pest management provider. The Got Ants project is funded by the California Department of Pesticide Regulation. This according to my local Castro Valley paper called the Castro Valley Forum. Whoa, Mike just played the Bullet Boys from the hairband era. For the love of money. Okay, we just jumped from health to money, but sometimes money helps your health. Anybody can make $20 million on a movie if you're an A-list actor, of course, but Hollywood's real power players get clever deals for points on a movie's back end, a share of the final gross, video sales, or even merchandising. Let's take a look at the timeline of stars that have made a bunch of money. Let's first get out of the way, though, John Travolta, who he was supposed to make a bunch of money on Battlefield Earth. He waived his $20 million quote for the Passion Project. Instead, he took $10 million plus a $15 million bonus if the movie passed the $55 million mark. It didn't. At $21.5 million, it was one of the year's worst flops. Okay. Well, James Stewart back in 1950 was the one that got it all going, with legendary agent Lou Wasserman negotiating the first ever back-end deal. Jack Nicholson made $50 million with Batman. Tom Hanks, $20 million for Forrest Gump. Keanu Reeves made $25 million with The Matrix. And then the subsequent sequels, he shared much of his 15% on the sequels with the film's Cruise. Also that year, Bruce Willis with The Sixth Sense, $100 million. With a slice of the back end video sales and ticket sales. In 2003, Johnny Depp for the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, $300 million. In 2005, another Scientologist like John Travolta, this time though he made the right choice, Tom Cruise, for the movie War of the Worlds, $75 million with the Steven Spielberg movie. In 2010, Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio, he reportedly made $20 million per role up front, but that he reportedly makes that, but thanks to a contract that gave him a share of the gross plus video sales and rentals, he is rumored to have made at least $59 million on the Christopher Nolan's Thriller, which grossed $825.5 million worldwide. Then in 2011, this lady by the name of Cameron Diaz took $1 million up front for the movie Bad Teacher, but then she got points as well. She took the $1 million up front in exchange for points that got her $42 million when the movie was a hit. A deal so rich, it scared Hollywood. Quote, "The studios will never let that happen again," says one veteran agent. And finally, in 2013, last year, Sandra Bullock for the movie Gravity. Few movies are as dependent upon their lead as Alfonso Cuarón's one-woman space show, and Bullock is reaping the rewards. With a 15% cut, the actress could earn $70 million for the grueling role. And that article coming from Entertainment Weekly as we go outside the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And the picture is of something we love in Podcastro Valley, and that is ants. No, there's no ants in this picture. Well, maybe they are somewhere in the dirt that you see in it, but I am doing a pose. I'm sort of walking along a creek that can be found in Pleasanton, in the Tri-Valley area. Michael Masha, I told you to stop that. Sorry, Madam Rutabaga. Yes, it's an area that you can walk along the creek in Pleasanton. So nice. It's near downtown Pleasanton. I love that area. Ooh, a very cool microbrewery down there I think it's called Main Street Brewery. Check it out if you're ever down there. It's my little scavenger hunt for you. We haven't done that in a while, Mike's scavenger hunt. I need to do that again. But yeah, check that out in Pleasanton, California. Not too far away from Podcastro Valley, California, and see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. Mike and Masu, if you would like to talk to Wyclef Jean, I have him here. Oh, hi Wyclef, it's nice to meet you. Are you going to say anything?
This is Wyclef Refuge Cries well.
Excellent. Tomorrow we're going to have some great music from a band called Bond Saints. Brand new. Two brothers, Roger and Keith Bonsang. We're going to talk about the Bond Saints in Boston and everything that goes ba in the night. Does that include sheep too, Mike? Sure, whatever. Tickles your fancy. Or makes you a sweater out of the wool. What? That's tomorrow. We'll also hear from Shelley Shuhart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the Engineer. Mike, I am so glad you told all those stories about health. Because now I feel really healthy. Do you know that? You sound healthy. That voice is very healthy sounding. Thank you. Now your breath, on the other hand, could kill a goat. I can't help it. I'm in love with hummus. Do you know that? Thank you.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Oh, Justin Bieber, I think you need to mellow out. Oh.